Om. In Hinduism, we all know that the original scriptures are from the Vedas, what we call the Vedas. That was the original scriptures from which Hinduism had been developed. These Vedas are so ancient that it was thought that it was created when man was created. And therefore, people believe that these Vedas are actually from God Himself. Now, when it is very hard for an intelligent mind to understand that God could have given all these things. It is like, you must have heard of what revelation is. We have thoughts and we have ideas. But then there are times when our mind is perfectly calm and quiet, an idea comes from nowhere that we have never thought about. Let's say there is a problem that we were thinking about, but we don't know how to solve it. And then one fine day, maybe usually early in the morning, that's when your mind is at the most sattvic mood, your mind is very calm, a certain idea comes through which you had never thought about. So therefore, that thought is called a revelation. And since it is not your own thought that you had thought about before, and the only thing that existed before your thought was God, people attributed revelations to word from God. And our rishis, who were meditating in the Himalayan caves those days, their mind was always calm. And they had all kinds of ideas coming to them, original ideas. And they recorded those ideas, and those are called the revelations. It is not only in scriptures. They have come up with scientific discoveries. Hindus are attributed the credit for many scientific facts and laws, which the Western world came to know only recently, but it had been there recorded and documented by the rishis long time ago. So these are the revelations. Anyway, these Vedas were there. Veda Vyasa, compiled these Vedas together and classified them into 4 categories. And that's the 4 Vedas. So actually, Vyasa did not write the Vedas. The Vedas were already there. He classified them. He sorted it out and classified them into the 4 Vedas. The Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, Yadur Veda, and Atharvana Veda. These are the 4 Vedas that we have. Now each Veda is divided into 3 sections. The rituals and all the instructions. And the last portion is called the Aranyaka portion, which contains the Upanishads. That is the philosophy behind Hinduism. And each one of these Vedas have Upanishads at the end. So since it comes at the end of the Veda, it's called Vedanta. So Upanishads are basically the Vedanta. Now each Veda has several Upanishads. And each Vedas, all those ideas in those Vedas are summarized into one verse that gives the idea, the whole idea behind all those Upanishads in that Veda. And that's called the Mahavakya, that one verse, which summarizes the idea of all the Upanishads in that Veda. So it's called a Mahavakya. So naturally, there are 4 Mahavakyas. One of them is Prajnanam Brahman. Prajnanam Brahman means, Prajnanam is consciousness. You and I are conscious. We call it the life spark, the consciousness. So that Veda says that consciousness is Brahman. So the consciousness that is in you and me, that keeps us alive, that is called Brahman. That is the key word or key verse in that Veda. The other Veda says, the Mahavakya is Tattvam Asi. Tat is that, Tvam is you, Asi is art, that thou art. That meaning the thing that created this whole world, the thing that pervades everything, is you, meaning not this physical body, but the actual person that's in me and you. So that is you, Tattvamasi. The third Mahavakya is Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham Brahma. You are Brahma and Asmi is you are. And the last one is I am Atma Brahman. My Atma is Brahman. Now you and I have that Atma in each one of us. That Atma is nothing but Brahman himself. But unfortunately that Atma has identified with this physical body, the material part of it, the spirit identifying with the material part, and that's called the Atman, and which is what you and I have. So these are the four Mahavakyas. Shankaracharya says, in the seat of meditation, when you contemplate on the deeper significance of these Mahavakyas and other verses in the Upanishads, you are doing actually the Atma Artha Vichara. You are actually contemplating upon the deeper significance of these verses. So they are just one liner, like Prajnanam Brahma, just one line. Intellectually, okay, all right, so if you say that this consciousness is Brahman, I understand. That is not what we are talking about. You go deeper and try to find out the deeper significance of that phrase, Prajnanam Brahma. That you will be able to do that on your seat of meditation when your mind is calm. And when you do that kind of contemplation, your mind gets calmer and calmer, and the calmer the mind, the more you are capable of investigating more and more. Now, just because the scriptures say that you are Brahman, and I keep saying I am Brahman, people will laugh at me if I say that in public, that I am Brahman, because I have nothing to show for that I am Brahman. So, when I say something, I need to back that up with my behavior or my credentials. So, just proclaiming that you are the king. If I say I am the king of Lancaster, people will think that I am off of my mind, because only crazy people will say things like that. But if a person has conquered all his enemies in the land, and he has the entire wealth of the land under his control, and he controls everything in that land, then he can say, I am the king of this land. And once he has all that, when he has controlled all the enemies, there are no enemies in the land against him, because he will quieten all the enemies when they rise up against him. And he has the capacity to do that. And he controls all the wealth in the land. So when he does that, he doesn't have to say, I am the king. Wherever he goes, people would automatically respect him. In the same way, when somebody in a spiritual sense has done this kind of meditation and contemplation, and has realized that he is Brahman himself, he does not have to say that he is Brahman. The very way he conducts himself, every cell in his body would be proclaiming that he is the supreme God himself. And we have seen that in our Gurudev and other spiritual masters. So, similarly, by winning over all the inner enemies, you and I can win over all our inner enemies. So a king wins over all the enemies on the outside. If you and me can win over all our inner enemies, who are our inner enemies? Our desires and attachments, to the worldly things, our mental wanderings, our intellectual desires and plans, if we can control all that, then we have established that state, that mastery over everything, and then we can say, I am Brahman, and everything in him will sing the chorus of his sovereignty. Then Gurudev gives this beautiful story of a very rich family in India, and once this riot started between the Muslims and Hindus, there was people, killing each other and destroying property and so on. So this rich man did not want his family to be in the house and endanger them. So he put them all into a carriage and sent them out to the next state where the relatives live, so that they can be safe. In the middle of the night, he sent the family away. And he stayed in that big palace all by himself, and in the night, he collected all his jewelry and money and all the things valuable that he had in the palace. He collected them, put them into a box. His best friend was also there to help him. So they both put everything in that box, dug a hole in the back of the house, buried it and covered it. And in the night, the rich man also went to join the family. Unfortunately, on the way, he got killed because he got caught to the enemies there. And the family never came back. This palace or this mansion was neglected. And 20 years later, that boy, his family all died away. That little boy now had grown up to be about 20 years old. He came back and he had only this palatial building there. Everything is there, but he had no money. And there came a time when he didn't even have money to buy food. And he couldn't keep up the palace. It was all getting broken down. People were just walking in and out of the yard, when they used it as a thoroughfare, because the fences were all broken. And the boy was just seated there. So one day, there was an old man who was walking by, and then when he saw this little boy, not little boy, this 20-year-old man sitting there, he called him, come in. And he came, he said, aren't you Vijay Sharma's son? He said, yeah. He said, your father and I were best friends. And then he related the story, when the riots broke 20 years ago, your father sent all your family with you to the next town. And he and I put all the wealth together, all the jewelry together and buried it. It is still there. So the boy asked, where? He said, right where you are sitting. We buried it right there. And I know it because I was there with your father when we buried it there. So, it's not something that I'm saying, you just dig around and see. It might be there. I'm not saying, I am saying it is there. Why? Because I put it in there. And then, the old man went away. Now, this boy, he knew well enough that he should not immediately start digging. Because when you start digging immediately, the neighbors will say, what is this fellow up to? He never lifted his hand to do anything. Now all of a sudden he is actively working in his yard, and they'll wonder what is happening. So he said, you wait and you don't go to the next street, but go 3 or 4 streets further away to one of your friends there and ask them whether you can borrow a pickaxe and a spade. You ask them whether you can borrow. Then when you bring it also, you don't just bring it on your shoulder and walk around, because then everybody will ask, what is this guy going to do with a pickaxe and a spade? He never did any work. Why is he going to bring all this? So do it very quietly and without anybody noticing. bring it to the house and keep it there. Don't do anything till everything is quiet in the night, when all the lights have been off in the neighborhood. Then you go. Go to that spot where the old man pointed out. You know where that spot is, where the old man pointed out. Now start digging with the pickaxe. You loosen the soil with the pickaxe. And with the spade, you take the loosened soil and throw it away. Then loosen it some more and then throw it away. Now you have done that and it has come down to about 3 feet. Still no sign of the box. You don't say at that point, oh, I think the old man was crazy, he was confused. You don't give up at that point. You keep on digging. Keep on, digging with the pickaxe and with the spade, taking the loose soil away. And then one time when you do the pickaxe, it hits a metal. Then you know that you have hit the box. Loosen the soil around the box, quietly take the box and go into the house and keep it under the bed. Don't open it when it is daytime. Why? Because the moment everybody knows, daytime somebody will peek through the window and they say, hey, what is it? Because if they know that you have found a treasure under the ground, the government will take 2/3 of it. That is the law of the country everywhere. Taxes. Plus, when people come to know that you have all that, they'll come to steal from you. So, carefully again, wait till it is night time and then quietly open the box and then there you see all the jewelry and the money and everything that your father had, it is there. Now, next day, you don't proclaim to the whole world that you are now rich, you are going to buy this. Take one jewelry at a time and don't go to the first jewelry shop that you know. Go 5 streets away to another jewelry store somewhere and sell that and get some money. And with that money, don't go and check into a 5-star hotel. Because again, people will think, this fellow had no money, now how come he is able to go into a 5-star hotel? Just buy some food with that money and come home and live a quiet life. Then a little later, you collect a few more jewelry and go to the next town and sell it and you get the money. Like that, little by little, and then you improve the house a little bit, and then you buy a car after that. All these things you do slowly. So this is the story that Gurudev said to illustrate the point that know where to dig as advised by the scriptures and the Guru. The scriptures and the Guru say where to dig, meaning where to go to find the treasure that is in you and me. That is a treasure that every one of us has, which is the divinity himself. But it is covered by all this dirt and dust. So, what is the pickaxe? That is our intellect. You use the pickaxe of your intellect to remove, to loosen this ignorance that we have. And with the spade of your mind, you remove little by little and throw it away. So using your intellect and your mind, you gradually remove this ignorance that you have, that you think that this is this body, that you are this body. Because you are not this body. You and I are actually that Atman, the self, the Brahman himself. But unfortunately, under the influence of Maya, we come to believe that we are this body. And because of this ignorance and this delusional belief that we have, we identify with all these things in this world. Once you have this belief that you are this body, then you have this sense of imperfection. Because if you are Atman, the self himself, you are perfect. A perfect person has no desires because he has everything. So he has no desire. A person who has a desire is somebody who has some imperfections in themselves. They need something. They feel that need, and that's what comes out as a desire. So when we have desires, know that we are imperfect. So all these desires, once it comes in, then our mind thinks of ways to acquire them. And then when you go to acquire them, you get it, and then you want to protect it, and then you are afraid that somebody might steal it, and then you might lose it. And the cycle goes on and on and on, and there is never an end to that. These create attachments and conceal the truth. The least, now when you do reflection and meditation, that is manana and dhyana, your mind will come to a very calm state, and with that calm level of least level of agitation, then you are now fit for Atma Vichar. Because just by getting desires out of the way, automatically you don't realize the self. Now use that calm mind to do reflection, do Atma Vichar, meaning contemplate and investigate within yourself. And what is this investigation? Now, like how a sick person should strive to regain his health. All sick people, you and I have fallen ill many times. What is our thing that we do when we fall sick? We strive to get our health back. Now, natural health is our normal being. That is our natural thing. When you fall ill, it is an unnatural state because something outside, other than our natural state, had come to interfere and make us sick. So, the treatment that we undergo is to get rid of the thing that caused that problem. So, by taking medicines or by going to a doctor, we are not trying to get good health. We are only trying to remove the thing that caused the ill health. In the same way, spiritually, we are already divine. That is our natural state. But it is now covered by all these misconceptions and delusions that we have. We have to treat that. And to treat that, you remove by veiling our spiritual dynamism, divine glory and the supreme perfection. This is our natural state, and that is covered by our delusions that we have. Now, no two patients are alike, so treatment has to be individualized. So even when medicine is given to a patient, it is not only that the patient has to take medicine, there are some advice given in addition to taking the medicine. If I am a diabetic, I am given diabetic medication, but advice is also given that I should not eat sweets, that I should not eat too many carbohydrates. Now, I need to exercise self-control and practice that also in addition to taking medicine. In the same way, in practicing spirituality, self-control is very important. Self-control meaning giving in to desires and temptations. Unless we have control over our senses, no spiritual practice can be successful. Shankara devotes the last 10 verses now. And as you can imagine, we all started by that student asking that question, that 7 questions that he asked from the teacher, and the teacher gives all these things which seems like bluffing. The teacher is bluffing the student because the student asks specific questions. What are the questions? What is bondage? Why do you say that I am bound, that I am in bondage? How did I get this bondage? And how come this bondage remains with me all the time, from my birth till death, and from every birth that I get this bondage? How is it happening? How do I remove myself from this bondage? Then what is this Atma and what is the Anatma? Meaning, what is myself and what is the not self? Please explain the difference between these two. These were the 7 questions that the student asked. Now, in response to that question, 10 verses Shankaracharya gives. So it is not just a bluff. This is to make sure that the student's mind is receptive to whatever he is going to say from now on. so that the student will know that the answers to these questions are not simple and straightforward. It's not just to understand and say, okay, that's fine. You need to have that ability to absorb it and implement those. So that's why all these explanations were given. So Shankara devotes the last 10 verses not as a digression, but to emphasize that the student has sincere motive to implement the suggestions of the teacher. So the teacher again congratulates the student for the excellent question that he asked. Because these 7 questions actually addresses all the doubts that any seeker should have. So if you know the answers to these 7 questions, you have got the answers to whatever that is needed in spirituality. So because of that, the teacher congratulates the student saying, you have asked an excellent question. And that shows the maturity in your mind. And not only the maturity in your mind, you were able to enunciate your question in such a way, in such short, simple way, that everything is clear in that. Because from the question, the teacher understands where the student is. There are people, Gurudev says, who are in love with their doubt. They ask a doubt, they are not interested in getting an answer for the doubt, because they love their doubt. So no matter what the teacher says, he hangs on to his doubt till he sees the next Swami, so that he can ask the same question. And if you clear the doubt for an instant, he gets angry with the Swami. There's one doubt that I had, and this Swami comes and clears it out. So that is not the way to go. A doubt has to be something that you sincerely want it removed. So the teacher congratulates him and he says, listen to what I am going to say carefully, and then you will attain liberation. Now listening, how can that be? The teacher says, listen to me very carefully, and once you understand it, you will attain liberation. It seems like a very broad promise. How can just by listening I get liberation? Here the listening means, it has a deeper meaning. The student, having purified his mind, is ready to hear the teacher's experiences and grasps the subtle significance of the words of the teacher. So the teacher says, for liberation to happen, there are certain factors that we need to create. What are these factors? Atyanta Vairagya. That means extreme dispassion. Now Vairagya, I have talked about earlier, is detachment and indifference towards sense pleasures. It sounds like, impractical. But if you really think about it, discriminate intellect will become acutely conscious of the impermanent nature of the world of objects. You and I know intellectually, no object in this world, however desirable it may be, is going to give you permanent happiness. We are given the example of a chocolate. If you eat one piece of chocolate, it tastes sweet. 2 pieces? Yes. 3 pieces? Yes. When you eat 5 pieces of chocolate, the sweetness is not that great. When you have come to the 7th or 8th piece of chocolate, it is not only not sweet, but it is not, it's making you feel uncomfortable. By the time you come to the 15th sweet, it is not only uncomfortable, you are now nauseous, really. Now the chocolate is the sweet thing, it is the same. But because it has no permanent way of giving you happiness, taking more of it is not going to give you happiness. So intellectually we know every thing that in life is like that. If you get something good, it is not going to last forever. You are worried that it is not going to last. So that your happiness is now muddied with this worry that it is not going to last for long. So even the little happiness that you get is mixed with this worry. And when it goes away, you are sad, and then you crash down, and then you try to get something else to replace that, and life goes on. So intellectually we know we become acutely conscious of the impermanent nature of the world of objects. And the mind automatically will feel repelled towards them. So once you get that understanding deeply in your mind, that all these world of objects have no capacity to give you permanent happiness, you would gradually get repelled by them. Not that you don't like it. So if I like something sweet or something that I want to eat, I would still feel like eating it, but I'm not going to crave that stuff. If it is there, I will eat. If it is not there, I'm not going to say, I wish I had it, or I wish I could go and buy it from somewhere and then I can enjoy it. That is craving. The dispassion that you need to create in yourself is that you don't care whether it is there or not. If it is there, fine. If it is not there, that's fine too. So you develop a certain indifference to these world of objects. That's the vairagya that they are talking about. And it has to be an extreme vairagya, meaning it has to be consistent all the time, that you don't like that kind of thing. You are repelled by these kinds of sense pleasures. Then sama, dhamma and titiksha. We have talked about it again. Sama is where you control your mind from leaking into sense pleasures. Even when the sense objects are not available, I could be sitting in my room all by myself and imagining all these pleasures that I have experienced in the past, letting my mind leak out that way. But controlling my mind that way is called sama. Dhamma is where I prevent myself from going and contacting sense objects. So sama and dhamma again is something that we have to practice all the time. So adhyanta vairagya, sama, dhamma and titiksha. Titiksha is the ability to tolerate simple discomforts. The small pinpricks in life. Tolerate them, silently tolerate the small pinpricks in life. And Gurudev says, most of the pinpricks in life are small. Once in a way you get a major setback in your life. You may never get it in your life at all. But if at all you get it maybe once or twice in your lifetime. All the other discomforts and problems that you have are minor. But we dwell on these minor issues so much that there is no availability of the mind to deal with anything spiritual. Everything is, we are worried about the financial problem or this problem or that problem. Where is the time and where is the availability of your mind to deal with anything else? So titiksha is very important. Sama, dhamma and titiksha. And once you have got these four cultivated to a good extent, you do shravana, manana, followed by dhyana. Shravana is listening. Listening meaning listening to talks like this or reading from the scriptures. And then manana. Manana is where you do reflection. When we used to have spiritual camps with our Gurudev, after the lecture, in the itinerary, you are told to go for a walk. There are, it's like an open park-like thing. You are told to go individually on a walk. You don't go with a crowd and go and sit and chat and laugh. You go individually, go and sit under a tree. Now, not with any of your books or any of your notes. You sit there, you have heard the lecture, and you think about what you have heard. Try to run that through your mind. Question it, analyze it within yourself, and doing your own question and answers within yourself. That's called the reflection, the manana that you are supposed to do. And the more we do that, the more things get clear in our mind. And then the philosophy that you listen from the lectures becomes your own personal philosophy. Why? Because you have analyzed, questioned, argued within yourself and made it your own by coming to a definite understanding of what you heard. So therefore, what you heard in that philosophy now is your own philosophy. Thus the philosophy of the scriptures become your own philosophy. Now when you practice meditation, Gurudev again says, there are people who come to him and say, Swamiji, I've been doing meditation for the last 2 years. Nothing has happened. Gurudev says, nothing will happen. Why? Because meditation has to be practiced. There are three things. Chiram, Nityam and Nirantaram. Chiram means it has to be practiced for a long time. It may be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Keep on doing it regularly, continuously, without expecting, oh, I hope with today's meditation I'm going to realize. It's never going to happen that way. You keep on doing it. That is Chiram. Then Nityam, on a daily basis. In the morning and in the evening, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of meditation every single day. Do it rigorously, religiously and fanatically. Whether you are sick or not, just do that on a regular basis. That's Nityam. And Nirantaram. Nirantaram means 24/7. It is not that meditation is only for the 10-15 minutes and then you are into your sense pleasures the rest of the time. And then when the evening comes, you are there for 10 minutes of meditation. The rest of the time you are into sense pleasures again. No. 24/7, your mind is in that meditative mood, meaning you are constantly remembering that this is all a play of the Lord Himself. I am the Lord Himself, and everyone in this world is another form of the Lord also. So everything that you do for the others is a service that you do to the Lord. This kind of awareness is a meditative mood that we should be in at all times. So these three are there for meditation. Now, an example is given. The flame. If there's a candle and there is a flame on the candle, that flame looks like a solid fire. In actual fact, it is not solid fire. It is several small flickerings, but all going so fast that it gives you the appearance of one solid fire, that flame that you see on the candle. Same that, when you see the fan working, when a fan is going fast, you don't see the blades. You just see something swirling. You don't see the blades, individual blades, when it's going fast. The movie theatre, when you go to a movie theatre, these are all frames of picture that are being shown rapidly, that it gives you a sense of being there permanently like a movie. So all these are examples to show that our mind also is a rapid flow of thoughts. There are rapid flows of thoughts that are flowing that give the impression that there is something called the mind. So if you can slow down this rapid flow of thoughts, slow down the thoughts, your mind gets little by little eliminated. And when the mind is eliminated, then your path to reach the higher is clear, because it is the mind that is preventing us from reaching the higher. Now, Gurudev says in meditation also, now when you go to sleep, when you are feeling sleepy and you are sitting in your chair and you are dozing off and then suddenly wake up, you know that you are falling asleep, but partly you are aware that things are around you. So you are not fully asleep. And then when you are really fallen asleep, you are not aware of anything that is happening. In the same way, when you do meditation, you come to a level where you are almost nearing that transcendental state. At that state, you still have some ego that you are aware of things around. That's called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That state is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Most people remain there and not go any further. But if you go further and reach the point where there is absolutely no ego, in meditation you can reach that state, and that's called total, the first one is called Savikalpa Samadhi, and once you become totally non-egoistic, it becomes nirvikalpa samadhi. Now, after explaining that, the Guru says, now let me tell you what is the self and what is the not self. So first let me start off by saying what is the not self. Not self is your body. He starts off by saying the not self is your body. Anything that is not yourself is your body. Now this body, we talk about our body all the time. The scriptures say this body consists of several things. This body is the seat of a delusion and expresses in terms of I, mine, and they are only during the waking and dream state. Now the gross body is made up of 7 ingredients. The gross body that we have, if you take a cross section of this hand, there are 7 things. The innermost is the marrow or the bone. Outside is the bone. Then there are muscles. Then there is blood. And then there is the inner skin and the outer skin. These are the 7 seven things that constitute the body. The marrow, the bone, the flesh, the blood, the fat, inner skin and the outer skin. Scientifically also this is true. These are the only 7 things that makes up this gross body. There are 5 great elements that grow to form this great body. The 5 great elements are earth, fire, water, air and space. These 5 elements go to form this body. And this body consists of legs, thighs, back, chest and head with arms. Now the others are just appendages. In the head, we have nose, ears and so on. But again, he's just giving the different components of the human body. And he says this human body is made up of these 5 elements. Now these 5 elements, as I told you, are the earth, fire, water, air and space. They first start off as subtle elements. Subtle elements meaning it cannot be seen, but it is there. Everything is a subtle thing and then it becomes gross. A seed, the tree is subtle in the seed. You don't see the tree in the seed, but when you plant it, it grows and then it becomes manifest. Everything starts off as a subtle thing and then it becomes gross. So the human body also starts off in the subtle manner. So the diagram is given just to explain these are the 5 elements, subtle elements. They undergo a change called grossification to become the gross elements. How does that happen? These 5 elements break into half. There is a division that happens in each one of those. Then the thing that breaks up separate. They separate. That's the 3rd stage. The 4th stage is where the top half remains. The bottom half divides into 4 pieces. The top part remains the same. The bottom divides into 4 pieces. And the next stage, each one gives 1 piece of the small one to the other. And this one of these 2, each of the other 4. So as you can see, when it becomes a gross element, each gross element has a little bit of the other 4 elements as well. If you take the earth has a little bit of fire, a little bit of space, a little bit of air, a little bit of water. It's all there in the earth. That's because of this grossification thing. It is not that important, but Shankara wanted to make sure that we understand the mechanics of all these things that go to form the human body. And we'll continue with this as we go on.